Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Frontiers 2025, the third year where we're hosting our open source conference for application and infrastructure developers. Usually, the conference would be focused only on crypto stuff, but this year we also have some AI dev tools that will help us build the future of crypto together. Before I get deeper into things, some logistics, we have the live stream on the website. Send it to your friends, to your parents, to everyone, to your colleagues. We want people to see what's about to be presented today and tomorrow. I think it's going to be an awesome schedule that we put a lot of effort into. The Wi-Fi is there, and I'm not wearing it right now, but you will see Paradigm in Ithaca Falls with the green lanyards, which you can ask anything about investments, open source, technical stuff, Reth, Foundry, Porto, Revum, Alloy, Wagmi, VM, all of the tools that we've built over the years that people in this room are using. We have a Telegram chat where you can feel free to ask any question. We're hosting this hackathon later in the day where we hope that people can get in and ask questions about, hey, I want to build with someone, or hey, what's a good idea to build, or hey, I want some advice on something. We will be watching that, and we'll be there to assist. So, well, firstly, how many people were in the Rust Ethereum Day in 2023? My guess is some, not a lot. So the idea came from the fact that we were building in Rust, in Ethereum. So we said, OK, why don't we host a Rust Ethereum Day? That happened 2 years ago in the Foundry, which was a happy naming collision with our developer tool, Foundry. And it was a good success. We put it together in about a month, maybe 5 weeks. We got about 100 developers. It was a nice, cozy, intimate meetup, and we're very happy with the result. That lasted 1 day, that time, and it was mostly talks from us and our very close friends. The next year, we hosted it again at the Foundry, but we renamed it a bit to be able to cover our full ambition of the event, which is that we're building at the frontier. Let's call the event Frontiers because we're trying to push to new frontiers. So the theme of Frontiers is really one that I was really looking for a better conference, a conference for engineers, by engineers, a conference meant to bring together the community that we have built together over the last few years. And we've been doing open source for about 5 years now at Paradigm and with the rest of our friends. And the last 2-3 years, I would say, we have some great wins where Foundry is now one of the most used open source tools. Reth is starting to gain adoption in the staking and the layer 2 world. And now we're trying to take it to the next level. And again, the essence of Frontiers is engineering. We don't really want booths, marketing, or repeat talks. So every talk that you will see today and tomorrow is an original talk where we push the speakers very hard on to try to come up with something original that hasn't been presented before. And the content is not either for beginners. It's for people that are willing to go the extra mile, to push the frontier, and they're willing, ultimately, to sink their teeth deep into the topic that we're presenting and deeply understand it. So each year, we do a tight selection process. We filter for developers that have used our open source tools or want to use our open source tools, and we create a very intense program aimed at up-leveling them and helping them meet other extremely talented developers. So it's a conference built by the community for the community. Now, for Frontiers 2025, we combined it with the fact that many people are already in San Francisco because there were other events happening. So we said, OK, what if we book a slightly bigger venue, the Midway, where the Midway is typically used for nighttime activities, usually for electronic music shows. This time we thought, OK, what if we turned it into a conference venue? And I think this is the right venue for the ambition of the event that we're trying to achieve. We had about 650 people RSVP. I know that our engineers are a bit hard to get up at 8 or 9 a.m. So throughout the day, we're going to have more and more people coming in. And basically, everybody here is an engineer, with the exception of some people that should be engineers. And it's going to be 3 days of open source software, Rust, crypto applications. We're going to have 2 AI talks, developer tools, and on the end of the second day, we'll also have 3 consensus talks, which are going to tell us about the frontier in performance of distributed systems. The expectation is that I would really ask the audience to try to treat this like a university classroom. We're trying to be fully focused, try to avoid tweeting, don't email, don't respond to Telegram, just pay attention to the talks because we put a lot of effort in it, and we'd love that you also put the effort back in to us. Networking in the breaks, there will be plenty of time to talk with everyone. Everybody's available. And nobody's chasing us. We have the whole day. We have the whole day tomorrow. And we can have a good time together. And today, at 1 p.m., when the talks wrap and the lunch is over, we'll do a small hackathon. So normally, hackathons are 2-3 days, or sometimes you see online hackathons last a whole month. This time, and I think what inspired me for this was a hackathon that Vercel and NVIDIA or some other people have done a few months ago, which was a 2-hour hackathon, where they're like, OK, we have AI tools, go and build crazy stuff in 2 hours. So OK, we thought, OK, maybe since we have the whole day, let's do it a little bigger. So we talked to Vercel and Anthropic, and they were so graceful that they will give us access to V0, which is an awesome tool that Guillermo will talk to us after me, which basically lets you go from text to UI, and Cloud Code, which is a tool that we've been using to basically give a prompt and start doing a lot of back-end or front-end work. And fun fact, most of the Frontiers website, it was built with many of these tools. So big shout out to them. At the end of the hackathon, there won't be a formal judging process. The thing that I wrote in the chat room is that we want people to work hard and do something cool. I don't really care for a fantastic presentation or something that comes up super polished. What I really care about is that you try to go deep into what you're doing. And at the end of the event, whoever has done the most proof of work, we will raffle out some of these awesome keyboards branded for Frontiers, limited edition just for this year, to a few people that we think really passed the bar for the proof of work. And the judging criteria is all going to be vibes-based, and that's OK. Trust that our vibe check is going to be good. OK, so without any further ado. Crypto is technology that enables financial freedom. I started working in crypto 8 years ago because it showed me what you can do just with a few lines of code. With a few lines of Solidity or some Bitcoin script, you could move millions or billions of dollars at the speed of light with a very, very tiny fee. Nobody can take away your crypto money. It's purely yours, and you know that it can last for the long run. The other thing that's awesome about crypto is that it's transparent and verifiable. What does this concretely mean? It means that if you have the global financial system running on crypto, in 2008, you didn't have a health meter that said, hey, here's how healthy the financial system is. You might want to take a better look at it. Whereas in crypto, when MakerDAO, for the ones that remember, was going haywire, we had a live meter that said, hey, something is happening, go fix it. And that's the essence of crypto. Not only is it self-custodial money that you can truly own for the long run, but it's a system that gives you credible commitments for the long run that you can observe in real time and be confident that what you're doing is going to be working as expected. Now, there's some nice side effects of all of that, transparency and long-term and open sourceness, which is that every API in crypto is by nature open and composable, which is it lets you do some fun things. For example, if I have a exchange and a lending market, I can combine these two, and I can create a levered product, which is not something that you can do without asking for somebody's permission in traditional finance. Usually, you need to go get an API key, get 10 licenses, check with your legal department. It will take maybe a few years. Whereas in crypto, I can literally take a 15-year-old developer, tell them, this is the API, this is the other API, put them together, and now you have something awesome. And that's something uniquely net new, and it's something that truly excites developers for crypto. Tomasz yesterday was saying that Ethereum is the world computer. The world computer is the eternal nerd snipe. Why? Because you can just keep combining things and building new cool things that you didn't think about before. And the final thing that makes me really excited about crypto is that all of this fairness, all of this open source, transparency, and ultimately a value system that's based on creating fair markets without gatekeepers, without rent-seeking. You will see that people always say, hey, you cannot charge this much because somebody will fork you and then they will try to undercut you. So the competitive nature in crypto is really high because of some of these open source and like public composability dynamics, but also this downstream effect is you have fairness, a more level playing field, which ultimately benefits the consumer. And that's what we're doing. We're building technology that makes consumers feel safer and more comfortable and more benefited by the technology. And if there's one takeaway that I've had from the last couple of years, and I want the rest of the audience to have, is that it has never been easier to build an app with money inside. And it doesn't need to be a crypto finance app. It doesn't need to be your degenerate application. It doesn't need to be like an exchange. It doesn't need to be a token launchpad. It can be a simple, hey, I'm selling some merch, add money into it. And hey, by the way, if you're storing money in my app, why don't I also give you 3% on that money in the app? And while I'm doing that, why don't you also bet on how many T-shirts I'm going to sell in the next month? And I think this is increasingly happening. So for example, ticketing companies, they want to start upselling their users into, hey, which song is my favorite artist going to play at the end? And this is all basically part of a larger trend that I believe that every app is starting to look like a fintech app, where usually to build a fintech app, it would require, again, tons of work. You need to get licensed everywhere, et cetera. Whereas in crypto, you just import crypto. You import a few libraries in your code, you tap into a global financial system, and suddenly your app has money inside. But this trend, these are all nice things, but this trend is what am I talking about? We're not there yet. So the crypto apps and the crypto mission, fundamentally, have been set behind by two big things, which is A, cost, which I think we've made great strides in over the last few years, where it is with high-performance L1s, whether it's with L2 technologies, with more high-performance off-chain infrastructure, and UX, which UX has been a more tough conversation, is kind of the theme of this talk. And ultimately, the only people that would get over this big barrier to entry were the big speculators. Because if I tell you, hey, you're going to make 100x or 10x on whatever money you're going to put in, that's fine. Cost is no problem. UX, I'm going to go through death by 1,000 cuts if that means I can reach the El Dorado. So cost and UX select what apps can use crypto. And so you can imagine a curve that starts with initially when the cost and the UX is very bad, it's just speculative activity. Then as it gets down, you get maybe into more consumer yield earning savings products that only make sense past a certain amount, where you don't frequently interact with the thing. And then as that cost and UX curve becomes easier to navigate, then you get into consumer applications, day-to-day usage, real-time betting, ticketing on-chain, DNA, all of the crazy use cases that you've heard about the years. Cost and UX have been the biggest barrier to get to them. So I'm just going to tell a little story about the last 10 years of crypto UX, which I think some of you will relate to. So you go to some app, call it, there was an app back in the day called Ether Delta, which was a fun exchange. It let you trade all sorts of things that you wouldn't trade if you had the knowledge that you have now. But you went to it because there was nothing else to do. So what does the experience look like? You go to the website. The website takes a few seconds to load. Then you click Connect Wallet. It shows you MetaMask. You're like, OK, what the hell is MetaMask? It tells you, hey, go download MetaMask. You open a new tab. If you're lucky that you're on a browser that supports browser extensions, because if you're using Safari, there's no browser extensions for Safari that would work with MetaMask back in the day. You install MetaMask. Then MetaMask tells you, and this applies also to MetaMask, like all other wallets that are using MetaMask, because that's the wallet that everybody uses when they're talking about bad UX. No hate. So you go to MetaMask or unnamed wallet, and it tells you, hey, write down these 12 words, where the 12 words, they're like a bunch of stuff that you would think, what am I doing here? So you take these 12 words, you maybe write them down. Most people wouldn't write them down. Then you click next, and it tells you what was the first, fifth, and eighth word in these things. And you're losing it. You're like, OK, what the hell am I doing here? OK, that's, my mom doesn't know what a Chrome extension is. But let's say I got here over the line to do that. The moment that 138 moment comes, talk to me next year. OK, some people get through that. They install their wallet. Then they see something that says, hey, you have $0. How do you deposit the dollars? And again, back in the day, we didn't have on-ramps baked into the wallets. But even today, where we have the on-ramps baked into the wallets, there's still some things that happen. So who here hates their on-ramp? I know I do. I think most people would. And why is that? There's like two things. One, when you click buy, it asks you to input your name, your surname, your address, a selfie, your passport, your dog's name, where you grew up, like tons of things that, A, I don't remember half of them, and two, by the time you've done them, you've kind of lost interest. So that onboarding step where you need to on-ramp from fiat to crypto is one of the biggest issues with crypto UX these days. And that's, if there was one problem that I would invite everyone to push, is that go talk to whoever your on-ramp is and push them to using something that does KYC-less on-ramp up to a certain amount, call it $100, $200, $500, lifetime. No need for the user to keep onboarding, just one time, because when the user comes in, they're going to be able to Apple Pay their way in. OK, so on-ramp problem solved. You guys are going to push your on-ramp providers to get it done. Fantastic, solved. So now I got dollars in my account. And because I'm a normie, or I'm just a normal user, honestly, I don't want to hold a volatile asset. I onboarded to some stablecoin. Now I click buy on either Delta or on Uniswap or anything else, and then it tells me gas. What's gas? Is this a car? I thought I went to an exchange. Right? And so gas, what the hell is gas? And then it tells you, oh, gas is transaction fees that you need to pay for. OK, you lost me. So there's all of this stuff that you start encountering. So then you have gas. Then you see, oh, you need to approve and then swap. Then after doing all of that, then you need to figure out off-ramping. Oh, I need to KYC to a higher tier. Oh, my bank blocked me. Nobody will use crypto if all of these problems are in the hot path of the user. That's why we have a ton of activation energy required to get anything done in crypto. And that's why I suspect that most people have been retreating in their safe zone of doing infrastructure instead of trying to go after these really hard problems. But I think these years we can do a lot better. And this has been powered by a lot of recent advancements that I will talk about in a second. But I think finally we're in the time where the stack is ready. The on-ramps have gotten good enough, maybe. MetaMask doesn't prompt you to do 12 words in the beginning. It just shows you a red. Your account is insecure at the very end. But you see that at the end, so it's OK. People have figured out how to do fee abstraction, which means that you kind of don't need to pay gas in the native token of the chain. You just do some stablecoin, and then the backend figures out how to pay. Maybe the batching problem is also some things are looking better. Privy and others have done great embedded wallet experience where you just click sign in with Google, and then OK, you're in the app. You don't get kicked out. The weird pop-ups all of the time. So it looks like things are looking better. So I'm just going to walk through what I believe to be the 3 table stakes requirements for crypto apps, and what have we done to help advance this. And then I'm going to get into some best practices and some things to avoid. So the first thing that every crypto app needs is safety. What does this mean? I'm not going to even talk about UX yet, right? It's like literally safety, because the worst UX is losing your money. And losing your money is really bad. I've lost tons of money when using crypto apps in my career. It's not fun. It makes your body shake. You never want that to happen. If something happens to any crypto user that doesn't care deeply about crypto, they're gone and they never touch it for a few years. So safety is really important because we're building ultimately financial applications. No matter what, crypto is money, it's finance, it's all of that. You're importing money into your application. When you're importing money into your application, safety is top of the list. The other hand, the other hard thing about building crypto apps is that in blockchains, once something happens, it's typically very hard to reverse it. If it's happened, and then maybe you're using some like stablecoin provider that they're willing to give you your money back if you go through a few months of process. But usually, if you lose money, the money is gone. It's gone in all sorts of places that you don't want to know about. So where are all the crypto apps running? They're running on smart contracts. Smart contracts are usually contracts code that handles money that you deploy once, and then you kind of forget about. Maybe you can upgrade them, but this includes additional complexity. So there's a whole set of things that you need to get done really well to make sure that people don't lose their money. Again, if people lose your money, they're never going to use your app again. So what did we do? We built a security tool called Foundry. And I think, how many people in this room have used Foundry? All right, hell yeah. Congrats, like you're part of you're early. So Foundry started out of the idea that not only should people build and test their smart contracts, but they shouldn't need to end up going to some crazy auditing firm that will charge them $1,000 an hour to get their contract secured. Foundry was built out of a mission which is very similar to the Rust language's mission, which is empowering developers to build safe and efficient software. That's the mission of the Rust language, and I have really come to embrace it as something that's part of the mission for the Foundry project, which is that when you use Foundry, you get access to extremely advanced security tooling that masquerades as your build tool, and you run tests, and under the hood, it ends up running testing, simulations. It lets you check against your production environment. It ensures that if you're building a crypto app, the money that went into that crypto app is going to be good. No warranty, of course. If you screw something up, it's on you, but we're doing our best to ensure that this gives you the best tool for no charge that you can use in your day-to-day life to make your life better. And I think at this point, Foundry is the standard for secure and efficient smart contract development. And one of the Frontiers applicants, they said, Foundry literally changed my life, and I use it for everything, which is fantastic music to my ears, and a big shout out to this user. OK, so safety is the first thing that we need to be taking care of in smart contract development. The second thing that we need to make sure is that apps are cheap and fast. So OK, nobody lost their money, great. But if you get into the app and then you want to pay $10 to Liam, and the fee is $5 or $10 or $20 because base L1 fees, something I don't want to think about, is too high, then again, I'm out. So the blockchain scaling problem has been a hard one that we've been pondering about for years and years and years. Many people have put their contribution to that. Our contribution to that has been the Reth project. And the Reth project came naturally after we started Foundry, where we thought, OK, now that everybody can build safe code, now how is that code going to be cheap and fast? So the Reth project is something that we started building in late 2022. It started as literally something crazy as an experiment. We knew nothing about systems engineering at the time. We just knew how to build single-threaded applications that you run, forge, test, it builds, and you're done. And it really changed, I think, the game in performance engineering. We are 3 years into Reth. Reth is 1.0. It is, I think, also the standard for performance infrastructure. Here you see I favor Jesse Pollack from the Base team, who talks about how they basically have been switching all of their infrastructure to Reth because that is what's enabling them to scale to meet the demand of the Coinbase and the Base developer platform. So Base is using Reth. You will hear from Matt Seitz, our Reth lead, on how basically many projects in the industry are right now using Reth because it's not only the fastest, it's also the easiest platform to develop on for building chains that handle real load. And the third thing is frictionless, and frictionless can mean a lot of things that I talked about earlier. And frictionless does not mean just for the user, it also means for the developer. And it's not just the user experience that matters, it's also the developer experience. And when it comes to developer experience, I think we've built some of the best developer tools for backends, but we had the great opportunity during our time at Paradigm to collaborate with Tom and Jake, the authors of WAGMI and VM, who basically built the most used front-end libraries that I think most front-ends in crypto use at this point. And we came to them and we said, hey, OK, backends are fixed. Now, OK, you guys have been fixing the front ends, but there's one missing piece. So what do we do about it? And that was the origin of the Porto project, which you'll hear about from Tom later in the day, where the idea is that what if we gave devs a one-line import? You just say import Porto, you do a one-line change into your configuration of your application, and suddenly your application has superpowers. You can sign in without passwords. You can do payments at very low cost. You don't need to think about gas. You don't need to think about change. We handle account recovery, batching. The list goes on. It's a large list. And while we haven't done it yet, I hope that Porto will be the standard for frictionless crypto apps. And our aspiration is that we can get to a UX that will remind you very much so of a Stripe or a Shopify type experience, where literally you try to buy something. There's two options: buy with Apple Pay, buy with crypto. And if you want to buy with Apple Pay, you on-ramp, headless, no KYC, you don't see any third-party UI, you just on-ramp. The seller gets paid stablecoin, so the seller is covered. And if you are already on stablecoins, you just pay with crypto, you're covered, no passwords, fantastic. So stay for Tom's talk. I think it's going to blow your minds. So there's 4 things I think that the ideal crypto-powered app should have, which is A, login with passkeys or with OAuth. No passwords, no seed phrases, no Chrome extension, nothing. Just log me in like I log in to any of my favorite applications. 2, the ideal crypto-powered app should have payments with stablecoins. Stablecoins are taking off. They're everywhere. You will hear some from people throughout the day. I think it's kind of table stakes at this point. Now, after you have sign-in and payments, then you get into finance. And the 3, I think, key finance primitives are earning, swapping, and betting. And when swapping and betting, you might think are the same thing, roughly, but I think there's some key differences in it. So once you have payments, then you go tell the user, hey, you have balances the app, why don't you start earning some? And when you have swapping and betting, then you can start doing even more with the user's assets. Again, there should be no crypto jargon. There should be no passwords, no gas, no chain selection, no browser extensions, no KYC to on-ramp. There are a lot of no's, and I don't know how many people that have built apps meet all of them. That's the bar. That's what we got to do. That's what we're shooting for. So to just wrap the talk, I think in 2025, the stack is ready. We have all the tools in our arsenal to do crazy things that years ago we couldn't imagine, and not just in 10 or 20 people teams. I think 2 people in 2 weeks can do serious damage these days, powered by the crypto and the AI dev tool stack. And I think this day's hackathon is going to be a test to whether we can do that actually. So please try your hardest, hit us up. We are going to help you to build awesome stuff in one day. Yeah, and everybody's working fast, so being fast is not enough, right? You have to be faster than everyone else if just the bar just got higher by default for everyone. To win, you need to be better. I think there is a very unique opportunity to import crypto in every app, which is something that we've been thinking about for a long time. How can you take a normal app and just supercharge it, just make it net better? You're not building a crypto app. You're building an app that imports crypto to solve its problems. And yeah, call to action. Let's build faster. Thank you. We're going to have an amazing day. Okay, I think we have a few minutes for questions. So if anyone wants to raise their hand, happy to take any.
Quick question. In terms of application, like what kind of application do you think would be interesting in the next couple of months or years?
Prediction markets. To me, that's the most interesting thing happening. I think figuring out, oracleize some piece of information. It doesn't need to be trustless. Figure out someone that's going to put the result of the thing that you want to check on chain. Let people bet on it. I think that's the use case. You saw what happened like in the election markets last year. I think it's going to keep happening. Yep.
Yeah, so like,
Give the microphone a second.
yeah, so you talk about like import crypto to every apps, right? So how do you see like the trustless nature of crypto? Are you seeing like application Web 2 also have the self-custody like options? It's like gonna be another feature for people to onboard easier without KYC, or you see like at the end it will be just like, oh, enterprise will just do DeFi for you while trusted like custody of you. Like,
That's an awesome question. So the question is, as crypto is growing up, are we going to preserve the OG cypherpunk values, or while it's growing up, is it just going to be an invisible backend thing that the user is not going to experience in like a direct way, but they're going to experience it maybe in a very indirect way, such as you're in a jurisdiction where Revolut wouldn't normally go, but Revolut, because it's embraced crypto, for example, Revolut, right, is able to go to because otherwise they wouldn't be able to. And maybe they're able, because they're using crypto, they're able to offer a yield product that you wouldn't be able to use otherwise. So my view, personal view, is that it's totally OK if most of the world experiences crypto without the trustless nature. And this is something that I wouldn't have said a year or two ago. And this is something that just has come to change in my mind after seeing how to really grow things, you have to like really make compromises. There is no free lunch. So one thing that we've been saying is that like the whole cypherpunk thing might end up being like Proton Mail or Signal, where it's still massively valuable for society. It's not the best UX. Like I'm a Proton Mail customer for like 10 years, and I hate it. Literally, like I cannot even search the body of my emails because it's encrypted. But I sleep well because I know it's encrypted. But most people don't care about that. They use Gmail, right? Or most people use WhatsApp instead of Signal just because they like it better. So yeah, I also use Signal, but like not with everyone, right? So I think it's totally fine if like that's the end result. I think it's really important for the cypherpunk tech to be really good because it sets the floor. So if the floor is set by really good cypherpunk tech, then at the very least, you got transparent finance out of it, you got rules that won't change under your feet, or you at least know why the rules would change under your feet, right? And I think that self-custody, specifically for self-custody, I'm not willing to give it up as a thing that we can achieve for everyone with no UX trade-off. But the on-ramp stuff, and like again, like let's say you're in Revolut and you need to like access crypto in a more federated way, I think that's totally fine if it happens kind of like invisibly. Like that's literally like Bridge, the company that got acquired by Stripe a few months ago. It offered tremendous value to its customers, and they didn't care about crypto, right? It just happened on the background, but it was very valuable. And to me, that's a win for crypto. Maybe not a win for self-custody, but it is a big win for crypto. Yeah, Will?
Building on that, where does privacy fit in to the narrative these days for you?
Amazing question, especially given we had the Roman Storm conversation this morning or yesterday and the last few months. I think it's tough, right? Because it depends who you're building for, who your adversary is, Are you looking to build an American compliant business? Are you looking to build like an anonymous OG like private thing that you don't know who will use? Who are you okay with using the system? You know, how okay are you with potentially bad activity happening in your system? I think it's a really tough question. I think you can think of it in various ways. So, for example, like WhatsApp does end-to-end encryption, which means that you and the receiver can see what's up only. But WhatsApp also has a master key, which means that they could, if they wanted, decrypt things. But it means that your threat model is you, your counterparty, and the company, which means that, OK, like if somebody wanted to get access to all of your stuff, they would need to go subpoena like a Meta and all of the following stuff, which creates a barrier to entry to being spied. I think similarly, similar things can happen in crypto, where depending on the app that's happening, whereas in Signal that's not possible because the encryption keys all live in a TE and you're hoping that's secure. So it's a trade-off depending on the business you're building. You could go all out. I think there's real UX trade-offs. For example, yesterday I was talking with Remco from World, who is basically the guru of privacy in the ecosystem. And we were talking that if you're building a wallet that does payments, you have two choices. Either you use the UTXO model, which is what Zcash, Tornado Cash, all of these guys were using, but it has like real downstream issues in how the wallet works, because the wallet needs to do a big linear scan into a bunch of information, and that just makes the wallet experience garbage. So that's really hard. But if you were to do something that's not in that model, then it's not going to be fast. So how do you even navigate that like in a good way? It's a really hard question. I think people will make like insane compromises, and I'm not sure how you can get really good UX and really good privacy together. For Porto, we had a few ideas where anytime you send a payment, it goes to a fresh address, and every time you want to spend from these addresses, you can kind of like collect the funds from all of them, put them in a dark pool, and that dark pool ideally has a snark that says it's not it's all compliant activity, and then you can like spend from that. But these are many steps away. So I think the privacy story is really tough, and it's probably the final in the Swiss cheese model of what are the barriers to like crypto adoption. I think privacy is the final boss after the UX, and maybe that's the topic of next year's Frontiers.